All right, today we're diving into one of the biggest shifts happening in business right now, how AI is completely rewiring the world of sales. And I'm not just talking about a few new tools. No, this is a fundamental change in go-to-market strategy. It's about moving away from guesswork and assumptions and into a totally new, intelligent era of growth. Let's get into
You know, at the heart of every single lost deal, every pipeline that stalls out, there's one simple problem: friction. It could be a slow response time, a generic message that misses the mark, or a critical buying signal that just goes unnoticed. Friction, it's the silent killer of revenue. And it's the number one problem that AI is perfectly positioned to solve. So just imagine for a second, what if you could actually see that friction before it even happens? What if you could spot those invisible signals a buyer is sending out and respond at the perfect moment with the exact right message? I mean, that's the promise, right? That's the huge strategic advantage we're going to unpack today.
Okay, but before we get to the solution, you really have to understand the problem. The old way of doing things, the old sales playbook, it's actually creating more friction than ever. And that's because the way people buy has completely, and I mean completely, changed.
So here's the thing. Buyers today are spending most of their time in what you could call the dark. They're doing tons of research and evaluating their options all on their own, way before they even think about talking to a sales rep. And for sales teams that are still running on old assumptions, well, that creates a massive, massive blind spot.
And it's not just a blind spot, it's a messy one. Their journey is just incredibly fragmented. Get this, on average, a B2B customer uses 10 different channels just to research and weigh their options. You can just imagine the chaos. That kind of complexity is basically a breeding ground for friction and missed opportunities.
And this is where things get really interesting. This is the turning point. We're seeing this huge shift away from operating on guesswork to operating on real-time signal intelligence. And AI is the absolute game changer here. It's what turns all of that chaotic buyer activity into clear, actionable signals.
Now, the foundation for this whole new world is something called intent data. And look, it's not magic. It's really just the intelligence we get from analyzing all those little digital breadcrumbs a prospect leaves behind. You know, the articles they read, the stuff they search for, the pages they visit. All of that helps us figure out who is actually in the market to buy something right now.
And when you put the old way and the new way side by side, wow, the difference is just night and day. We're moving from a world of assumptions to a world of real signals. Instead of just blasting out scheduled campaigns to broad audiences, we're talking about real-time responses targeted specifically to active buyers. And maybe most importantly, we stop measuring vague things like impressions and we start measuring what actually moves the needle: pipeline velocity.
Now, if you're thinking this is awesome, far-off, futuristic concept, think again. 78%, nearly 8 out of 10 B2B companies are already using AI in at least one part of their business. This isn't coming, it's already here.
And the people at the top, they are all in. A full 90% of commercial leaders now see AI as absolutely critical to their long-term strategy. So this is no longer some side project or a cool experiment. It's a strategic imperative for growth. Period.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. But how does this new intelligence layer actually work in the real world? Let's get practical and look at how it's being used across the entire sales process.
These are the applications that are on the front lines driving results today. We're seeing AI sales development reps, basically automated systems that can engage and qualify leads 24/7. We're seeing tools that can hyper-personalize outreach messages and automate all that painful research that used to eat up hours of a rep's day. And on top of that, AI is getting incredibly smart about prioritizing which accounts to chase and even forecasting which deals are most likely to close. And remember that friction problem? Well, this is where AI delivers a knockout punch. Speed wins deals. It's that simple. In fact, buyers consistently rank a vendor's responsiveness as one of their top 3 decision factors. AI just closes that gap between a buyer showing interest and a seller responding, making it almost instantaneous.
And that's exactly why we're seeing these AI SDRs take off like a rocket, especially in big enterprise companies. They're being rolled out to meet that demand for instant, smart engagement at a scale that, let's be honest, humans just can't match.
But here's the real secret sauce, the thing that separates the winners from everyone else. It's about achieving a level of relevance that was just impossible before. The top-performing teams are using AI to go way beyond generic, one-size-fits-all messaging. They're delivering hyper-personalized, context-aware engagement to every single prospect.
Okay, this all sounds really impressive, but does it actually work? What are the results? Let's talk about the hard numbers, the ROI that the C-suite really cares about.
So companies that are really implementing AI effectively in their sales process, they're seeing revenue growth of up to 15%. That's a direct impact right on the top line.
And in the middle of the sales funnel, efficiency just goes through the roof. AI adoption is driving conversion rates up by as much as 47%. So you're not just getting more leads in the door, you're actually winning more of them.
And what about the very top of the funnel? AI can boost your lead generation by up to 50%. Why? Because it's just so much better at identifying those in-market buyers earlier and more accurately than we ever could before.
And you've got to see this. This is a fascinating little detail that totally flips the script on the whole robots are taking our jobs fear. It turns out companies that adopt AI are almost twice as likely to increase their headcount. So think about that. AI isn't replacing salespeople, it's supercharging them. It acts as this incredible growth engine that creates the need for more people in strategic roles to manage it.
Okay, the case for AI is strong. The results are pretty compelling. So the next logical question is, where on earth these start? Let's pivot from the why to the how with a really clear, actionable game plan.
McKinsey lays out these 6 no-regrets moves to get the ball rolling. First, just audit what you're currently doing to see where AI could make the biggest splash. Then put together a dedicated task force to really explore those ideas. The key here is to find the low-hanging fruit. The simple, high-impact stuff like automating prospecting emails, and then just launch an experiment or two. And of course, you've got to train your team on the basics and set up some clear guidelines so everyone's on the same page.
And look, as you're taking these first steps, you have to keep one eye on the horizon, because the next frontier is something called Agentic AI. We are moving beyond simple assistance and into the world of proactive, autonomous agents that can run complex sales processes pretty much on their own. I mean, imagine an AI agent that not only finds a prospect, but researches them, drafts a whole personalized outreach campaign, and then hands a full briefing to the sales rep, all before a human ever touches it.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. This isn't just about plugging in a new piece of technology. This is about fundamentally re-architecting your entire revenue engine. So the real question you have to ask yourself is, are you ready for it to become autonomous?